From waterfalls that fly upward to seas without shores and glowing skies that seem to tear reality itself, there are places on our planet where the laws of physics simply stop working. Today on Top Facts, we will go on a journey through the most mysterious points of Earth. Places where rivers disappear into black holes, stones walk across the desert by themselves, and the sky flashes with lights that no one can explain. It is going to be insanely interesting. Enjoy watching. The Palette of the Gods, the Rainbow Mountains of Zhangye-Dangxia. In the Chinese province of Gansu, there's a landscape that looks like a frame from a fantasy movie. The hills and ridges there are made up of layers of red, orange, yellow, and green, as if someone had smeared a giant paint palette across the ground. These are the landforms of Zhangye-Dangxia, better known as the Rainbow Mountains. The secret of the colors lies in the layers of sandstone and minerals that were deposited over millions of years, one on top of another. Wind and rain then carefully carved from these layers the current ridges and waves. From below, everything looks surreal, and from above, like an endless sea of colored stripes. Geology like this is rare. To get such a rainbow effect, you need the right minerals, millions of years, and perfect erosion conditions. That is why landscapes similar to Zhangye-Dangxia are found almost nowhere else. The Devil's Eye, a deadly dangerous spring in China. In the remote highlands of Qinghai province in China, there is a spring that is especially impressive when you look at it from above. Perfectly round, with unreal, almost extraterrestrial shades. The locals called it the Devil's Eye. At first glance, it seems that this is just a spectacular natural wonder that makes you want to go there for beautiful shots. But the closer you get, the more disturbing it becomes. The water is saturated with sulfur. The spring constantly bubbles and releases poisonous gases, and because of this, there is dead land all around. Nothing grows nearby, animals avoid the place. For tourists, coming close to this spring can be dangerous. The air is heavy, saturated with harmful fumes and literally unsuitable for breathing. Scientists explain the unusual colors of the water by the high sulfur content and the peculiarities of its chemical composition. But the name Devil's Eye stuck precisely because of the feeling that this circle in the ground simply should not exist in our world at all. The Well of Hell in Yemen. In the Yemeni desert of Al-Naslaa, there is a giant sinkhole that people have avoided for centuries. It is called the Well of Hell. The diameter of the hole is about 100 feet, and it goes down into the darkness as an almost vertical tunnel. The locals are convinced that this is a cursed place, a prison for evil spirits and jinn. For a long time, it was believed that to descend, they are meant to challenge death itself. People spoke of strange smells, sudden gusts of wind, and shadows flickering inside. All this made the Well of Hell an almost sacred taboo. Only in the year 2021 did a team of speleologists from Oman dare to go down. Instead of demons, they found snakes, animal remains, and rare cave pearls that had been forming there for centuries. In other words, inside, it turned out not to be a portal to another dimension, but a very harsh, yet still earthly cave. The loneliest island on the planet. Between Antarctica and South Africa, among the cold and merciless waters of the Southern Ocean, lies a tiny piece of land, Bouvet Island. It is often called the most isolated island on Earth. It was discovered in the year 1739 by the French navigator Jean-Baptiste Charles Bouvet de Lozier. Before him opened an island almost entirely covered with glaciers, surrounded by ice and storms, where ordinary ships simply could not reach. Even today, only a few people ever get here, mostly scientists and rare expeditions. But Bouvet has its own little creepy mystery. In the year 1964, a British expedition noticed an abandoned lifeboat on one of the shores. No people, no records, no distress signals, no wreckage of any vessel in the area. The sea around the island is considered one of the most dangerous on the planet, and no data about a missing ship that could have left that boat there has ever been found. To this day, no one knows who reached this icy edge and what happened to them. A fallen star without a crater, the Hoba meteorite. In the depths of Namibia lies a boulder that, in theory, should be marked by a gigantic pit. But there is none. This is the Hoba meteorite, the largest known meteorite block on Earth, weighing about 60 tons. When scientists began to study it, it quickly became clear that this is not just a stone. It consists almost entirely of iron and nickel, a typical guest from space. The logical question is, how did an object of such size fall to Earth without leaving behind a huge crater? The situation becomes even stranger because Hoba lies almost flat on the surface and is not buried deep, unlike most other meteorites. One of the versions is that an unusual shape and angle of entry into the atmosphere slowed down its fall, and it almost landed rather than crashed. But even now, the exact scenario of this fall remains a hypothesis. Today, this silent star simply lies in the open air, slowly rusts, and reminds us that sometimes space comes very close to us, and we still do not fully understand exactly how. A polka dot desert, the fairy circles of the Namib. In the middle of the Namib desert, if you rise higher, it seems as if someone has covered the ground with a giant pattern of dots. These are fairy circles, mysterious round patches of bare soil surrounded by a ring of grass. They do not intersect, do not touch, are arranged very evenly, and can stretch for kilometers. From the air, the landscape looks like a desert, painted with perfect circles. Scientists have argued about the causes: termites, competition of plants for water, gas emissions. There are many theories, but none has explained everything at once. In the year 2014, it became even more interesting. The same circles were found in Western Australia, on the other side of the planet. Exactly the same pattern, the same fields of circular spots. The mystery is that these patterns occur only in 2 deserts on Earth, separated by thousands of kilometers. And to this day, no one can confidently say whether this is a clever algorithm of nature or the result of processes we still know little about. Into the abyss of blue, the Great Blue Hole in Belize. Off the coast of Belize, there is one of the most frighteningly beautiful landforms on the planet, the Great Blue Hole. When viewed from above, it looks like a perfect circle of dark blue water in the middle of a lighter sea. But the main thing is not its width, but its depth. This sea well goes down more than 120 meters. Back in the year 1971, Jacques-Yves Cousteau himself sailed here to explore the mysterious sinkhole. His team discovered strange limestone formations and huge stalactites at depth, proving that this was once a dry cave. Only later did the sea level rise and flood it, turning it into what we see now. The deeper divers descend, the more the atmosphere changes. The light dims, the water becomes darker, and the silence becomes almost physical. Many describe diving into the blue hole as a descent into another world. It is believed that there may still be sections inside that we know nothing about. And although humans have already looked into the abyss, the feeling that the Great Blue Hole keeps its secrets has not gone anywhere. Atlantis in the Sahara, the mystery of the Eye of the Desert. Deep in the Sahara, hidden among the sands, there's a gigantic circular structure that looks too perfect to be accidental. This is the Richat structure, or the Eye of the Sahara. Its diameter is about 30 kilometers. It is so huge that it is best seen from space. Scientists are not entirely sure how exactly it appeared. One group of researchers is convinced that this is a complex result of erosion and ancient geological processes. Others quietly say that something here does not add up, and that the eye looks not like a randomly carved shape, but like an abandoned place, erased from history long ago. Legends add to the intrigue. Some researchers put forward a bold hypothesis. The Eye of the Sahara may be that very long-lost place that was once called Atlantis. Its enormous size, almost perfect symmetry, and complete isolation make it a unique object. From a height, it looks as if a giant eye is looking straight into the sky, and everyone who studies it catches themselves thinking, is this really just nature? The unraveled mystery of the Devil's Kettle. In Judge Magny State Park in Minnesota, there is a waterfall that has been driving people crazy for decades. It is called the Devil's Kettle, and it is definitely not an ordinary cascade. The flow of the Brule River splits in two. One half normally falls down the rock, and the other disappears into a huge dark hole and simply vanishes. For years, people puzzled over where the water goes. Sticks, balls, and even marked objects were thrown into the river in the hope of seeing where they would resurface. Nothing returned. Hydrologists tried a scientific approach. They released special dye into the flow to track where it would appear downstream. But for many years, the results remained vague and did not give a precise answer. Only later did studies show that the disappearing water does in fact return to the Brule just a few hundred feet downstream, escaping through hidden underground channels. The secret seems to be solved, but you have to admit, a place where half a river seems to fall into a black hole still leaves the feeling that nature has kept something to itself. The immeasurable depth of the Fosse d'Yonne Spring. In the French town of Tonnerre, there is a spring that only the bravest cave divers dare to approach, and not all manage to get back out. Right in the middle of the road, surrounded by houses, water beats from a natural stone bowl. This is the Fosse d'Yonne Spring, and as soon as you look into its depth, you immediately understand that before you is not an ordinary spring. The water goes into a black abyss, whose depth is still unknown. Researchers have tried to measure it, but the depths turn out to be treacherous. Ropes tangle, equipment disappears, and some divers never return to the surface. Legends have long circulated around the spring. Some say that ancient treasures are hidden at the bottom. Others whisper about strange currents that drag in everything that comes too close. The scale and darkness of the Fosse d'Yonne are so frightening that this spring still remains not just a beautiful place, but a real abyss that we have not yet fully figured out. An ancient laser cut in the rock of Al-Naslaa. In the middle of the Saudi desert stands a huge rock that looks like a glitch in the matrix. This is the Al-Naslaa rock, a monolith split by an almost perfectly straight line exactly in the middle. The crack is so straight and neat that it creates the impression that someone cut the rock with a giant laser. Even more amazing is how the parts of the rock stand. Each rests on a tiny base and has kept an ideal balance for centuries. Scientists call it a geological puzzle, but people have long been saying that ancient technologies were involved here. Some believe that once, long before us, humans or someone else possessed methods of working stone that modern science does not even suspect. Whether it was the work of nature brought to the point of absurdity or the trace of someone's intervention, the Al-Naslaa rock has for many generations made people ask, do we really know everything about the past? The Dancing Forest, the Crooked Pine Grove in Poland. In Poland, in a secluded corner of a forest, there grows a grove of pines that clearly decided not to follow standard rules. This is the famous Crooked Forest, a plot of about 400 trees, each of which bends sharply at the bottom of the trunk and then stretches upward again. The pines were planted in the 1930s, but instead of straight, even trees, something completely different appeared. Almost all the trunks go off to the side at an angle of almost 90 degrees, and then return upward in a curved arc. Most of the bends, for some reason, face north. Scientists and mystery lovers have been arguing for decades. Some talk about heavy snowfall or winds that could have deformed the young trees. But many are sure that this is the work of human hands. Perhaps the trees were deliberately shaped for shipbuilding or furniture, giving them the desired curvature. The problem is that there is no convincing evidence, no documents, no precise explanations. So, while you walk among these dancing pines, you cannot shake the feeling that the forest is hiding something. A geological anomaly, the Chocolate Hills of the Philippines. In the very center of the island of Bohol in the Philippines stretches a scene that at first seems painted. For many kilometers in different directions spread undulating hills. All of them are almost the same shape, neat, smooth cones, one after another. The secret of their chocolate name is that in the dry season, the green grass on the slopes burns out, and the hills become rich brown, as if someone had scattered hundreds of giant chocolate drops across the land. The main mystery is how they formed at all. Some scientists believe that this is ancient limestone, once uplifted by the ocean and then eaten away by rain. Others are sure that volcanic activity also played a role. But there is still no single version. Local legends, of course, are simpler and more mysterious. They say the hills are the frozen tears of giants. And when you look at this landscape from above, it is not so easy to argue with those who see in it not just geology, but an almost mythical trace. The mysterious hum of the city of Taos. In the small town of Taos, New Mexico, there is a sound that seemingly should not exist. For years, residents have complained about a low, humming noise that appears and disappears, vibrating somewhere inside the walls of houses, and even in the chest. At first, it seems trivial, but over time, it turns into a real ordeal. People describe it as a deep, monotonous growl that seems to pass through the entire house. Some begin to suffer from headaches, insomnia, irritability, simply because this background does not go away. Scientists have tried to locate the source. They checked power lines, factories, roads, but no theory has explained why only some people hear the hum while others do not, and why it seems to live its own life for several decades already. The Taos hum is still considered one of the strangest and most nerve-wracking mysteries, because it is almost impossible to fight something that cannot be clearly recorded. The Valley of Mysterious Stone Jars in Laos. In the center of Laos, there is a place that resembles a set for a mystical film. Over a huge area on hills and plains, thousands of stone vessels of unknown origin are scattered. Some of these jars are taller than a human, more than 3 meters, and weigh over 30 tons. All of them are carved from solid stone and stretch over hundreds of square kilometers. The strangest thing is that we do not fully know who made them and why. Archaeologists assume that they could have been ancient funerary urns or huge containers for storing something valuable more than 2,000 years ago. But not a single version has yet closed the question completely. Local legends insist that giants once lived here, and that the jars were used to prepare giant rice wine. Walking between these stone jars, you feel as if you have entered a museum of a civilization about which we no longer know anything, even though its traces still lie right under our feet. The smoking tree, a riddle without fire. A man was walking through the forest after fresh snowfall and came across a scene that does not fit in the mind at all. In front of him stood a tree that seemed to be smoking. No fire, no charred bark, not even the smell of burning. But from the cracks in the trunk, thin streams of smoke rose, dissolving into the frosty air. The very idea, smoke without fire, is already frightening. How is that possible? Many people have the same first reaction. Somewhere inside a log is smoldering. But if there is no fire, then where does the smoke come from? Some put forward an unexpected version. Perhaps this is not smoke from a fire at all, but exhaust from something hidden deep underground. For example, a ventilation shaft from an underground bunker or a natural grotto where warm air and steam escape upward through the tree trunk. However, no clear explanation has been given. Not one version has been fully proven. And what do you think? Did the tree really burn from the inside, or is everything much stranger? The stone spheres of the jungles of Costa Rica. What are perfect stone spheres doing in the middle of overgrown jungle? In Costa Rica, hundreds of almost perfectly round stone balls are scattered, some weighing up to 15 tons. And everyone who sees them asks the same question. At first glance, one thing is clear. Nature does not polish stone this neatly. The spheres look too even and smooth to be a coincidence. And this immediately raises the second question. How did ancient people even manage to carve and move them without modern tools and machinery? The spheres lie singly, in small groups, and even in entire rows, but none of them is labeled made for this or that. The purpose remains a mystery. Scientists suggest that they could have been astronomical markers, cult objects, or part of the rituals of a long-vanished culture. Legends, however, confidently speak of giants or mysterious forces. Walking among these stone spheres, you feel as if you have stepped into a museum of a civilization that we no longer remember, although its traces still lie right under our feet. The Hessdalen Lights, a mystery that may never be solved. In the isolated Hessdalen Valley in Norway, since the 1980s, things have been happening that simply do not fit into the usual picture of the world. At night, mysterious glowing spheres appear there. At first glance, they are just little lights in the sky, but they behave nothing like stars or airplanes. They hover in the air, sharply change direction, move in jerks, and even change color. Witnesses tell how the spheres seemed to accompany cars and then abruptly went toward the mountains and dissolved. Scientists took this valley seriously. They installed cameras, sensors, radars, launched planes and drones. But no theory, neither about plasma, nor about gases, nor about equipment, has explained everything at once. The strangest thing is the lack of a clear schedule. The lights appear when they want. Sometimes for a few seconds, sometimes they hang for hours. No logic, no predictability. Even now, the Hessdalen lights remain one of the strangest and most inexplicable anomalies that could be something natural or something completely different. A sea without shores. The mystery of the Sargasso Sea. In the middle of the North Atlantic, there's a section of the ocean unlike any other. This is the Sargasso Sea, a huge water area that has no coastline. It is not bounded by continents, only by ocean currents. Inside, the waters seem almost motionless, especially compared to the turbulent waves around. Another feature is the dense mats of golden brown sargassum seaweed that float on the surface. Ships passing through these zones complain of a strange feeling of silence and viscosity. Propellers can get tangled in the vegetation. Navigation becomes more difficult. It is no wonder that sailors of the past feared these places and told stories of ghost ships and disappearing crews. Scientists argue about why exactly here such a closed world is formed, living by its own rules, but there is still no complete and simple answer. The mystery of the Min Min lights in the Australian outback. In the endless expanses of the Australian outback, strange lights have been noticed for many decades. They are called the Min lights. They hang low over the horizon, move as if watching travelers, and sometimes chase lonely cars for hours. One driver saw such a light along a deserted road. The light stayed about 100 meters away, slightly above the ground, and did not fall behind his truck. When he stopped at a roadside cafe, the light also stopped, just a few steps away from him. Then, according to him, something like a buzzing rod stretched forward from this glow, sliding through the grass right next to his feet. Slow-motion video showed that the object behaves strangely. Its length remains the same, even when it moves. There are also daytime recordings. They show a silvery sphere that blinks and hovers just a few meters from the operator. To this day, the Min lights continue to appear, following, hanging, and slipping away, creating the feeling of something at once intelligent and completely alien. Stones that walk by themselves across the desert. Why do huge stones seem to crawl across the ground, leaving tracks behind them? In Death Valley, on the dried bed of Racetrack Playa, dozens of stones, some weighing hundreds of kilograms, drag long furrows behind them on an almost perfectly flat surface. For decades, people came here, saw the tracks, but no one managed to catch the moment when the stones actually moved, as if someone deliberately made them move, only when no one was watching. There were dozens of theories, from magnetic anomalies to alien pranks, until time-lapse footage was finally recorded. The answer turned out to be no less amazing than the tracks themselves. On rare occasions in winter, a thin crust of ice forms on the dry lake. When the sun begins to melt it, the ice cracks and turns into floating plates. A light breeze moves these ice floes, and they in turn slowly but steadily push the stones forward. This is how the mysterious furrows appear. The mystery seems to be solved, but the impression that one day the stones will simply move to another place by themselves still remains. A lost world on the summit, Mount Roraima. On the border of Venezuela, Guyana, and Brazil rises a mountain that looks as if it were cut out and placed on top of the jungle. This is Mount Roraima. It rises 1,000 meters, almost as a sheer wall, and on top, it has a perfectly flat plateau, like a giant stone table. Scientists consider Roraima one of the oldest mountains on the planet. Its age may reach almost 2 billion years. It is no surprise that this very summit inspired Arthur Conan Doyle to write the novel The Lost World, where dinosaurs still live on an isolated plateau. When you stand at the foot of the mountain, it is easy to imagine that up there, something really has been preserved that humanity simply has not reached. Because of its complete isolation, special ecosystems have formed on the summit, plants and animals that are found nowhere else on Earth. Roraima is like a separate little planet hanging over the jungle. An underground starry sky, the glowworms of the Waitomo Caves. On the North Island of New Zealand, there are caves where the ceiling at night turns into a starry sky. The Waitomo Caves are famous for their limestone passages and halls, but the main thing is what people come here for. On the walls and vaults live thousands of glowworms that shine with a soft, bluish light. At first, it seems that you are floating down a river right under the open cosmos. The glow looks so dense and even. But the beauty here is also a clever hunting trick. The glowworms use their light as bait. They lower sticky threads, and insects flying toward the light get entangled in these traps. The caves began to be explored back in the late 19th century, and since then, Waitomo has entered the list of the most mesmerizing and slightly frightening natural wonders of New Zealand. The Devil's Sea of Japan, the quiet relative of the Bermuda Triangle. Off the coast of Japan, there's a section of the ocean that sailors have been avoiding for many centuries. The locals call it the Devil's Sea, and some call it the Bermuda Triangle of the Pacific. This area is located near Miyake Island and is famous for the fact that ships and even airplanes have disappeared here. In the 1950s, the Japanese sent a research vessel with more than 30 crew members to figure out what was happening in these waters. The ship disappeared completely. No wreckage, no clear traces, nothing. This only fueled rumors that something inexplicable was going on in the depths. Scientists name possible causes: complex currents, volcanic activity, weather anomalies. But not a single version explains all the cases at once. So even today, the Devil's Sea remains one of those parts of the ocean that people talk about in a whisper, and where they prefer not to tempt fate unnecessarily. The endless storm, the Catatumbo lightning. On the shores of Lake Maracaibo in Venezuela, there is a phenomenon that almost never goes to sleep. The locals call it the Catatumbo lightning, and it is one of the strangest natural events on Earth. Every night, the sky here lights up with hundreds and thousands of lightning bolts. This is not just a rare storm. The flashes can continue for hours, night after night, for months on end. For years, scientists have tried to understand why exactly this place seems to be locked in eternal thunderstorm mode. Dozens of theories have been put forward, from terrain features to the composition of the air and winds, but none has fully explained why this storm has stayed almost over the same point for centuries. They say that about 1.22 million lightning strikes a year are recorded here, and in especially active hours, up to 280 discharges in just 1 hour. The Catatumbo lightning remains one of the most mysterious thunderstorms on the planet, a phenomenon that seems not to know what it means to turn off the light. The upside-down waterfall of Nadgat. In western India, on the cliffs near Nadgat, there's a place where nature behaves as if it has forgotten how gravity works. The waterfall there does not always fall down. Sometimes streams of water soar upward, as if someone had flipped the laws of physics. When, in the monsoon season, a furious wind rushes through the mountain pass, its gusts are so strong that they literally grab the falling water and throw it back into the sky. The flows turn into a giant fountain in reverse, and everything around is wrapped in a cold cloud of spray. From the side, it seems as if reality itself has glitched. The water does not fall, but climbs upward, back toward the sky. Scientists explain this by powerful updrafts of air. Sometimes reality turns out to be so fantastic that any special effects seem boring. And all these strange, frightening, and beautiful places seem to tell us the same thing. Our world is much more mysterious than we are used to thinking. If you like this episode and you want to see something similar or maybe the next part, then click like, write comments, tell your stories, and subscribe to the TopFacts channel. And right now, watch our previous top episodes that have already appeared on your screen